All right, so over this past weekend, I went to go see Mandalorian and Grogu. Um, Going into this, I didn't really have too much high expectations, for quite a few reasons, actually. One is because, Mandalorian season 3 just sucked. I mean, that show was kind of on a downwards trajectory since season 1. Season 1 was good, season 2 was okay, and then season 3 was just garbage. So that's one reason I figured this movie after season 3 would probably suck even more. Second reason is, come on, it's Disney Star Wars. We know that they cannot make a solid movie. Look at the trilogy they did. It sucked. I mean, Force Awakens was okay. A lot of people hate on it. I liked it. But Last Jedi, garbage. And then Rise of Skywalker, not really garbage, but there was a lot that they were trying to not overcompensate, but retcon because of Ryan Johnson and the nonsense he did with Last Jedi. And, there's just things that were never answered, like when Finn kept wanting to tell Rey something, but then never gets to it. Obviously, there's also the nonsense with Palpatine. We already know all the problems. Don't need to go into it in full detail. And then there's other movies that were kind of like misses, like the Han Solo movie. Personally, I don't mind it. I think it's okay, but it's a lot of people give it a negative review or just a mediocre review. So, this one coming out, I'm like, oh. I mean, it's Mandalorian and Grogu. There's not even going to be any force, really. I mean, Grogu has some force, but there's not going to be a lot of force. There's not going to be lightsabers. No Jedi and Sith, most likely. So I was like, I don't know how good this will be, but okay, let's see. It's also a movie based on a TV series that I feel like you really can only understand if you've seen the TV series. And considering that there's 3 seasons, that's kind of a lot of content. And then you put a movie out. Well, for anybody who doesn't have Disney Plus, they didn't see any of that. So I'm like, oh, geez, let's see how this will be. I mean, for me, it's perfectly fine. I've seen seasons 1 through 3, but not everybody else. And then the third reason that I thought this might have sucked is because I've just heard a lot of reviews saying that it sucked. Jeremy Johns was kind of like, eh. Critical Drinker was kind of eh. Then there's just a bunch of reviews of random people on TikTok that all said that too. Like, some people 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10. One was like a 7 out of 10, which was probably the best that I saw. But, nobody was like, oh man, that was killer, other than the fake ads that you see where everyone's like, oh my god, it's so action-packed and excellent. Oh my god, that's so good. But otherwise, anybody real was just kind of like, eh. So I'm like, oh boy, I don't know how to feel about this, but it's Star Wars, and I'm a big Star Wars nerd, so I'm like, I gotta go see it, even if it does suck. I just need to know. So anyhow, after seeing the movie, I gotta say, I liked it. I don't think it was actually that horrible. All that negative press that I've heard, and all my preconceived notions of Disney, Star Wars, and everything, the movie was not bad. I'm not saying it was perfect. It's not like, oh my god, it's the best Star Wars movie ever. But it was not bad. It was like a surprise hit like Rogue One. When Rogue One came out, it was a little bit different than what we're used to. And that was pretty solid. And I feel like this one is too. I mean, I just saw, at the time of this recording, I saw the movie 2 days ago. It is Monday evening. I saw this movie Saturday evening. And I want to see it again. I'm not going to go to theaters and see it again, but I'm waiting for a home release in 3 months or whatever it is, so then I can pop the thing in and watch it again. So anyways, let's just get into the review. So to get started, I'm just going to kind of talk about the storyline. So obviously there's going to be potentially heavy spoilers because, like I said, I'm just going to be talking about it. So if you don't want to know anything about this movie and you want to be able to go into it blind, maybe just jump off at this point. Because from here on out, I'm just freely talking. I'm going to be talking about this movie with the idea that you've seen it already, so I'm not saying anything new. So if you haven't seen it, there might be a lot of new stuff that I'm telling you. I don't feel like there's any spoilers per se. There was nothing big. It's not like any, nothing real big happened. No real cool characters like, oh my god. So I don't think there's anything spoiler. You know what I mean? Like if we were talking about a review of Rogue One back in the day, a spoiler might be Vader's hallway scene. Well, we don't have that in this. It's literally just Mando and Grogu going on regular missions. But still, maybe you don't want to know about the storyline or whatever. So anyhow, big, huge monologue out of the way. Let's just get into it. So the movie starts with we're in this room on some building, and I'm assuming it's in Hoth. It's all snowy outside. It's clearly cold because everybody in the building, you can see their breath, which makes me wonder why they're sitting in a building that looks like it doesn't have windows and on a planet that is just constant winter, or at least it's currently in winter. It makes no sense, but okay. So anyways, oh, and there's snow troopers, which snow troopers are iconic from Hoth, so, I'm just assuming it's Hoth. Maybe it's somewhere else. I don't know. But there's this guy, and he's talking, and he's clearly like a Empire sympathizer. He's part of the Empire, whatever. And I think there's 6 people at the table that he's talking to, and these people are not Empire people. They are probably like former rebels or something that have been captured, and they've decided to join, or agreed to join, I should say, the Empire, just to avoid persecution. And so one thing that the actual Empire guy says is, "Long live the Empire," and it's sort of funny. I don't think it's meant to be funny, but to me it was kind of funny, because they all say, like, "Long live the Empire." Like, they're just going through the motions of saying it just so then, they don't have to deal with any kind of negative consequences. Well, anyways, this guy is Mando's first target. Now, this is exactly how the movie opens, so we don't see Mando getting this contract or anything, but we do see him in the hallway coming up, and he blasts into the room, and he's trying to get the guy, and unfortunately, the guy's able to escape. It's kind of funny, because it's like a little bit of a wuss move. He gets in this elevator, and as the door is shutting, he, like, kind of taunts Mando, and he's like, "Long live the Empire," and the door closes, and it's like, what a wuss. Hey, you're taunting him while you think you're safe and out of here. So anyway, he ends up going down to some escape shuttle, and he's able to fly out. Well, obviously Mando has his jetpacks and stuff, so he's able to fly out as well. And there's also Zeb. Zeb is flying a ship nearby, because he's clearly the support of Mando, as you know from the trailers and stuff. Well, anyways, fast forward a tiny bit, and Mando ends up shooting down the ship and that the bad guy was on, and obviously, well, the guy, it's implied that he dies. You see the ship go down and it explodes. Obviously, the guy didn't survive. Now, we zip ahead a little to Mando going to the, I don't know what it's called, the bounty hunters' headquarters. And you have Sigourney Weaver there. I don't even remember what her name was in the movie, but you have her there as, like, the head of it. I'm assuming that she's there because, Carl Weathers died in real life, so you can't have Grief Karga anymore. So I'm assuming that that's why she's there. She's the new Grief, I guess. But anyways, she's a little upset with Mando that he ended up killing the target, because she's like, we could have learned a lot from him, blah, blah, blah. But she's not super upset because, well, he was a problem and he is eliminated. So anyways, he's there. He says, "Oh, so I'm not going to get paid for this?" And she says, "Oh, no, you will." And she actually ends up paying him way more than he was expecting from his bounty, in that she fixed his Razor Crest. She put a lot of money into that Razor Crest ship. And so, in effect, she paid him way more than if he got paid. Yeah, he doesn't actually get paid, but whatever went into that ship is well more than whatever she would have paid him. You know what I mean? So anyhow, he gets his Razor Crest back, and then she gives him another mission. Now, this mission is, I don't fully recall. I think at first he didn't want it, but she kind of forces it on him. So, kind of like using the Razor Crest as like leverage. Like, well, you can consider this also a down payment for this. So, like, he kind of reluctantly agrees to it. And what it is it is for him to go find a hut. Now, the hut is on this, I think it's a moon, and it's called Shikari. And there's no information, though. Her card doesn't have a picture on it. It's just like an outline. There's no picture. She doesn't know exactly where he is on Shikari. She just knows that it's a hut. She knows the name. It's Rada the Hut. She knows that. And she knows that he's on Shikari. So, Mando goes out to this planet, finds like a food truck, and he starts talking to the guy. Well, the guy's a little bit nervous about things, and Mando's trying to pay him, and the guy doesn't want to take the money. Mando even orders a sandwich and goes to pay for that, but gives him a lot, and then says, "Keep the change." And then the guy's like, "You know what? Sandwich is on the house." He's being all weird and nervous, but then eventually Mando's finally able to make him cooperate with him and give him the information he's looking for. And it turns out that Rada is, one, no longer a child. That's what the initial bounty was for. It was to find Rada, who was a child, who was abducted and brought to Shikari. Well, he's no longer a child. He's an adult now. And, two, you find out that he is Jabba's son. And three, the people that sent out the bounty looking for him are actually his twin aunt and uncle. So, when he's talking to that guy at the truck stop, he finds out that Rada is like this highly celebrated fighter at this Coliseum that everybody loves. He always wins, yada, yada, yada. So Mando goes there and finds him, watches a match, sees how good he does, and then goes like backstage to his restroom, or not restroom, that sounds like bathroom, but you know what I mean, his place where he goes to relax after a fight. And he's getting a massage and stuff, and then Mando's talking to him, and then Rada's like, I don't want to leave here. And then, he gets a backstory. He's like, my dad, I don't want to be living like my dad. My dad, everybody just feared. He's like, here, people cheer for me. Well, no, I think he says people cheered for my father because they feared him. Here, people cheer for me because, they're a fan of me. They like me and what I do. He's like, I don't want to be living like my father. I want to be my own person. Or I guess he's not really a person. He's a slug. He's a hut. But you know what I mean. And yada, yada. And then he's like, plus, I have one more fight tomorrow and then I'm free. Like, what do you need to come save me for? I got 1 day of this left and then I'm done. So, Mando ends up finding out who, like, is his manager, I guess, and he goes, and it's some guy that he's seen before. I don't remember where he was, but I think he's seen the guy before. It turns out that's also Rada's manager. So Mando tries to buy Rada off of him, and the guy's like, oh, you should be betting on him, tomorrow's his last fight, yada yada, blah blah blah. And then he lets it slip, or not slip, he just straight up tells Mando that, you know what, tomorrow's his last fight because we're gonna kill him. So literally he can't fight anymore. So then Mando's like, oh geez, in a hard place now. He's like, I really gotta save this guy because he's not understanding. So he tries to go save him. And Rada's a little bit of a butthead, he yells to the guards, this guy's back. So then they knock out Mando, and then Mando ends up in the arena with Rada. He wakes up, and when he wakes up, he's like in a waiting room, if you will. And then the gate opens, and he's supposed to go out and fight Rada. Well, he ends up beating Rada, but he doesn't beat him in the way that the arena usually works. The arena usually works by you're supposed to kill your opponent. Obviously, Mando doesn't do that. He just gets it to a point where it's like checkmate in chess. Like, hey, if I wanted to, I could kill you, but I'm not going to. And then he yells, I yield, which means Rada wins, so he's free now. And then the guy who's Rada's manager or whatever is like, well, yes, you did win. Rada did win, so he is free, but... And then he activates these, like... I don't know, laser cage around the whole arena, and then all these creatures come out, these monsters come out, and those are the ones that are supposed to kill Rada, and I guess now Mando as well by default. So they now Rada sees that Mando was telling the truth the whole time, and he was actually trying to help him, so now they team up so they can get out of the situation that they're in. And I don't fully remember this battle, but obviously they get out. Both of them. And how do they get Rada out? I don't fully remember how they get Rada out, but I remember at first Rada is like a, actually, yeah, because Mando's still trying to do the bounty. The bounty was to get Rada and bring him back to the twin huts. So yeah, so Mando somehow gets out, and then he gets Rada, but he kind of captures Rada, so when he's on the Razor Crest, he's like tied up in a sling hanging from the roof, because he's a slug. And then, then Mando goes over and he's like, look, if I let you free, are we going to be cool? So then he lets him down so then Rada can be more comfortable instead of just hanging there on that sling thing. And, you learn, he learns some more information. He finds out, like, what the huts, the other huts, the uncle and the aunt and uncle huts would give Mando if they returned Rada. And so and then he also realizes that if he does return Rada to them, they're not going to be good to him because basically the aunt and uncle don't want Rada back because they miss him or whatever. They want him back because he's obviously the actual heir to the Jabba's throne, and they want the power. So they need to either kill or just kind of capture and hold him captive, hold Rada captive. So Mando's like, so he tries to subvert that, and he's like, all right, I can protect Rada and also get the bounty that they would give me. That way then, I'm killing two birds with one stone, and yeah. Well, obviously those Hutts don't like that, because they wanted Rada. So, now they are out to try to catch Mando. And they have a bounty hunter, it's actually Embo, out seeking Mando. Which apparently Embo's way better than Mando because he is able to subdue him and all this. And he has him on his ship. And I forget this sequence, how he ends up getting out. But he does get out, but then Mando ends up fighting something. Some kind of big creature that ends up poisoning him. So then he's laid up for a little bit until eventually some traveler kind of gives him a cure, which then fully restores him, and he's back at it. And then, yeah, they go to the hut. Well, actually, Mando's talking to Grogu, and he's like, well, the way I see it, we have two options. We can either escape this planet, because they find, like, a busted-up ship. So, like, we can either use this to escape and probably have to deal with the Hutts constantly hunting us, or we can just go directly to the Hutts right now and maybe end this and not have to worry for the rest of our lives. And then Grogu, signals, yes, let's do the fight. He kind of just nods his head. So they go to fly to the Hutt's, temple or whatever. And, yeah, obviously, they get into it. The Hutts end up getting killed. And in the end, Rada's now free. He's going to go to some... He's either at a planet or he's going to go to some planet or something, just live a quiet life. And yeah, everything's great there. And then Mando and Grogu head out and basically on to the next adventure. So that's kind of the long story short of it. But here's like some key takeaways. So the things that I liked were, one, I just liked the pacing actually felt okay. It didn't feel slow. It felt like the movie moves. It's not moving too quickly, but at the same time, it's not like dry and boring. And also, I'm not a fan of like over the top action movies. I don't know why. I know that's supposed to be like a guy thing. Oh, guys like explosions and stuff. I don't. I like more... Like, I like mob movies and stuff. That's more casual. Yeah, there's explosions, but it's here and there. It's not nonstop like Die Hard and movies like that, where it's just like, oh, blowing up this, blowing up that, shooting this, shooting that. Anyhow, the point I'm trying to get at is there kind of is a lot of action in this movie, but it's like it works somehow. It felt good. It wasn't like, oh, God, it's too much of this. Calm down a little. It's just perfect how that was incorporated. I also liked how the story of this movie, you really didn't need to know anything about the TV series, I feel. Yeah, having the backstory of the TV stories helps. TV show helps. Then you know how Grogu got to be with Mando. You know a little bit about Grogu already. You know a little bit about Mando already. You know his Mandalorian creed and etc. But I feel like if you're just somebody who either is just like a casual viewer of Star Wars, or not even a Star Wars viewer, you just want to check this movie out. Kind of like my mom. She went to the movie with me. She's not a huge Star Wars nerd like me. She actually was just interested in general from the preview. She wanted to see what it was all about. And I feel like this movie worked. Like, you can go blindly and not really be lost. The way that everything works out, it felt a lot like Season 1. Because obviously in Season 1, we don't know who Din Djarin is or anything. And yet, you see him doing what he does, and you learn about him, and that's kind of how it was in this movie. I kind of like how it just opened up, how the movie just starts. It's like you're already in a bounty, and you don't have to, it's like how every Batman, when they reboot it, you always got to see the backstory of him, and his parents getting killed, and he's afraid of bats, and all this, and you know the story, you don't get to see it every single time. Well, that's like what this did. It just skips over it. Mando is already on a bounty. When this movie starts, he's in the middle of a bounty. He found his bounty. He's ready to cash in on it. Like, so it's already in it. It's not telling you, oh, well, he's a bounty hunter. Here's how he got his bounty. Oh, look him go out on it. You know, yeah, you see him get a bounty and go out on it on the second one, but it's already established he's a bounty hunter. You saw him in the middle of doing one. Then I liked this is kind of silly, but oddly enough, it seems to be something that everybody was thinking. Every time he's on Shikari, there's a really cool song that starts playing, and it does not fit in with Star Wars at all. It's not a typical Star Wars movie by any means. It's kind of like a trap, synth, rave type song. But at the same time, even though it's not standard Star Wars music, it worked perfect with Shikari. That song just matched the environment. Like, the environment of Shikari felt like deep levels of Coruscant. You know how they say the lower you get, the more, like, crimey it is and more, like, just underworldy, you know? And that's how Shikari felt. And that's kind of, like, that song just matched perfectly with the environment. It worked. And it was super catchy, though, too. It was so... Oh, it's a good beat. I liked it. Every time it came on, it was like, oh yeah, and I started like doing little freestyles over it. Obviously not out loud. I'm doing it under my breath, but you know what I mean. It's a good beat. And very unexpected for Star Wars. You never really hear rap-type beats in a Star Wars movie. And then another thing that I liked is, for me personally, I do not like Grogu. Oh, I haven't liked that stupid little baby probably since forever. The reason I don't like him is because, one, he never listens to Mando. You know, like season 2, oh my god, there's so much of him just being a little dickhead, not listening. Mando will tell him not to do something, and what's Grogu doing 2 seconds later? Doing it. Hey, don't touch those buttons. There he is, touching the buttons again. Hey, don't eat that bucket full of frog things because that's the last of the species. What's he doing? Downing the bucket of frog things. Like, he just never listens to Mando, and that annoys me. When a kid doesn't listen to their parent or guardian or whatever, that annoys me so much, just in general, in real life. So when I saw Grogu like that, it's always irritated me. And as such, I don't like Grogu. But, I gotta say, in this movie, he kind of redeemed himself. One, he does listen to Mando now. Yes, he still tries to do stupid things like a little kid would do. But then when Mando corrects him, he actually listens. So it's like, alright, there you go. That's how you do it. You screw up, but then someone corrects you and you do the right thing moving forward. Second was, I felt like he was a lot more helpful than he normally is. Yes, he helps Mando quite a bit in the show, but it's like, it's super random. There's so many times where Grogu could use the Force and help Mando, and he doesn't. And then randomly out of nowhere he will, and it's like, alright, cool, thanks for the help, but why do you help me now, but you couldn't help me before? And at least in this movie, he kind of helps Mando out quite a bit. He's way less useless than he is in the TV show. Yes, there are times where he should help, and he doesn't, and it makes no sense. It's like, okay, this must be just for plot. They need to have a plot device, so they're going to make it so that Grogu's an idiot and doesn't know how to help out all of a sudden. Like, near the beginning of the movie, there's one point where all these bombs on a ship were activated. I think Mando did it. And Grogu's over here tapping Mando on the shoulder, like, hey, we gotta get going. And he's getting more urgent with it, like, come on, we gotta get going. And Mando's like, yes, give me a second. I think it's when he's trying to take down that Empire guy from the very beginning. He's like, I just need to line up this shot and then we can go. And I'm thinking, okay, like, just use the Force and, like, throw those bombs out the window. Like, what are you doing? Don't rely on Mando. Help him out. He's trying to do something. Just, use the Force. You know how to do this. Why are you being stupid? But, yeah, so there's times like that where it was just like, all right. And like, there's another time, too, where Mando was fighting... He's fighting somebody. I don't remember who it was. If it was Embo or if it was when he was fighting Rada in the Colosseum thing or what. But Grogu shows up and it's like, oh, cool. Maybe Grogu will help him and do something with the Force. Nope, doesn't help him at all. He's just kind of there. And it's like, what are you doing, you dickhead? Help him out. You have these mystical powers that would make a huge difference in this battle. And you're just going to watch? Hey, Dad, I hope you win. Hey, idiot, you could be helping him. But regardless, he is way cooler in this movie. I still wouldn't say I'm a Grogu fan, but it's like, hey, okay, he's going in the right direction now. Maybe if they make a season 4 of Mando and Grogu is still on this trajectory, maybe I can start to like him. We can forget about his nonsense from season 1, 2, and 3, and we can move forward with this more mature, respectable Grogu. So, yeah, and then what else? Oh, Rod of the Hutt. Rod of the Hutt was pretty cool, too. You know, I liked his whole story and character, like how he's Jabba's son. It's like, oh, wow, Jabba's son. Whoo, there you go. A GL, a Galactic Legend character, and this is his boy. Whoo. But then, like, he chooses a different path. He doesn't want anything to do with criminality and underworld and all that. He wants to live his own life, and, he wants to do good things. And, yeah, he was fighting in that Coliseum arena thing and killing his opponents. But at the same time, it was all for, like, good glory and stuff. Like, hey, everybody likes me. They're all fans of me. Yeah, it's like a UFC person, kind of. Only, you don't kill your opponent. But that was like Rada. He just wanted to have everybody love him, unlike his dad, where everybody was just afraid of him. And in the end, yeah, Rada's pretty cool. And he's also gentle with Grogu. He's this big slug, and Grogu's this tiny thing, but he's all just gentle and stuff, and like a little sweetie pie. So, yeah, I liked Rada. I liked his backstory and his character and stuff. Rada was cool. As far as now, obviously the movie wasn't perfect. There are a few problems with it. I mean, one is I didn't like how there's this little stretch. It's probably 10 minutes long, but it's basically like not a montage per se, but you could call it a montage, I guess. It's just Grogu. Like, when Mando gets poisoned, he's basically dying. He can't move. He's just stuck. He's laying on the ground in the middle of a forest. And Mando thought Grogu left, but he didn't. He comes out, and then he's kind of there to, like, take care of Mando, I guess. He builds a little hut for him. He gets him water and stuff. Mind you, Mando's basically dead. He can't talk. He can't move. Nothing. He's still technically alive. He's breathing and stuff, but it's like he's a vegetable, So Grogu's just kind of caring for him. And then that's when he finds this guy. Not really finds him. He's initially stealing his fish, but then the guy catches him, and then he helps him out and gives him basically a cure for Mando. So, Grogu didn't really get Mando the cure, but by proxy, by accident, he did get Mando a cure for his poison. So, but anyways, that whole stretch is just like long and boring, and I don't know. Maybe you can't cut it out, but I feel like they could have really trimmed it down. Like, and this isn't even something in retrospect. This is like during the movie, I was thinking, all right, this is kind of ridiculous now. This feels like filler. Like, this movie's 2 hours and 15 minutes. You could cut this crap out and make it 2 hours. Like, we don't need to see all this. This is stupid. And it also just, like, kills the movie. Like I said, the pacing's good. There's a lot of action and stuff, and it just works well. The music, everything. And then you get to this part, and it's just, like, slow, boring. I don't even remember the music. It's just like, oh, it just kills the whole everything that's been going on all along. So I didn't like that little montage scene. I also kind of don't like when Mando gets revived. Not because I want him to be dead, but because he doesn't really, like, seem appreciative or anything. Grogu revives him, and he's just like, all right, you ready to go? And it's like, whoa, you were basically dead, and your adopted son saved you, and that's all you gotta say is, like, you ready to go? Like, come on, man, be a little more appreciative. Without his help, you would have died. And then what? Your whole mission in life is to protect him until he's old enough to handle himself. If you died, how would you protect him? Like, he's saved you, and so that way then, A, you're still alive, and B, you can continue to do your own personal mission of protecting him. Like, and all you gotta say is, you ready to go? Like, I don't know. It was just, I didn't like that. It was weird. It's very unappreciative. But yeah, I didn't like that. And then there's the Babu Frick species. I don't know what they're called, but Babu Frick from Rise of Skywalker? Hey! Well, there's 4 of them in this movie, and they're like mechanics that Mando hires to come take a look at the Razor Crest and such. Then they end up hanging out with Grogu, and then they're like they're a group of like little guys, which actually Grogu looks huge compared to them. But anyways, I did not like them, only because they seemed so fake. Like they weren't CGI. They looked like they were like stop motion toys or something. Like it was terrible. I'm like, come on, for a Disney movie, A, for a Disney movie, and B, for a Star Wars movie, like you have a massive available budget. Both of those entities are very well rich. Like you could have at least just, I don't know, animated them or something, animated them, CGI'd them, something, a combination, even did like forced perspective or something, hired like people to actually play in the costumes and then just make forced perspective so that then they look small or something. Like they just look terrible. Those little Babu frick things were so stupid looking, and the whole time it's not like there was one section where they looked cheap and then they looked good later. No, they always looked terrible. The way they moved was so fake, the way they looked was fake, everything was just terrible about them. And like towards the end of the movie, you see them a lot, so it's like, oh, jeez, I gotta keep seeing this. Very bad execution. Maybe they should have just kept them out because at the end of the day, they really didn't do anything anyways besides get like some rebels. They fly off. I think when Mando gets poisoned, they fly off in their little ship and they recruit some rebels to come help. And yeah, that's like the only thing they did. Otherwise, they're absolutely completely pointless and they just look like cheap garbage, like toys. Like, at least Rada didn't look cheap. Obviously, Rada's CGI and stuff, he looked okay. But these Babu Frick things didn't. So I didn't like that. And what else is like a downside? Oh, I also didn't like how these Hutts speak English. Like, my only experience really with Hutts is from Jabba, but he always spoke Huttese or Huttonese, whatever the language is. And like these guys started out speaking that, and then out of nowhere they start speaking English, and it's like, what? Hutts are not supposed to speak English, or at least I don't want them to. And then like Rada spoke English the whole time. I don't think he ever spoke Huttese. It was just like, what? Rada, what kind of a fake Hutt are you? Jeez, even a Hutt that's like, I don't know, maybe he could have an excuse for speaking English since he is on a different planet and stuff, and he needs to be able to communicate with everybody there. If he's the only Hutt, who's gonna understand him? So I don't know. But the other ones, like, come on. I didn't like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm being overly picky. I don't know. It could also be that they spoke English just for the purpose of being able to, like, watch the movie more effectively than reading every time they spoke, but I just wasn't a fan of that. And so, yeah. I mean, I think those are really my only complaints I can think of off the top of my head. So overall, though, the movie, I thought it was super solid. Like I said, I actually really did like it. I didn't think I would. Like, I didn't think I'd hate it, but I thought I'd just be kind of, like, neutral about it. You know, almost like watching Mandalorian the show. I felt like I'd just be kind of neutral about it. Like, it's okay. But I liked it. You know, I left, the way when I left that one, I felt almost the same way as how I felt when I left watching, Force Awakens. Because from episode 3 until when Force Awakens came out, that's a 10-year gap. That's 2005 to 2015. Well, in that time span, a lot of stuff in my life happened. You know, I graduated high school. I graduated college 2 times. I ended up having a child. You know, I started in my industry. I ended up getting a nice car. I ended up going re-enrolling in college again to get a 3rd degree. Like, I had a lot of stuff happen, and it's just worrying about Star Wars wasn't on my radar anymore. You know, it was like I had a lot of other things to be focused on, not Star Wars. So it fell off. I was a huge Star Wars fan as a kid, into my teens and all that, and then it kind of fell off. And then when we went to Force Awakens, it was like, I didn't care. I went mostly because my mom was just like, hey, let's just go. And I was like, whatever. And then we left the theater, and I was like, oh, man, that movie was awesome. And I was back into Star Wars. And that's kind of how I felt about this movie. Obviously, I've been into Star Wars all along, so it's not like Mandalorian and Grogu got me back into it. But that same feeling of, like, ooh, excitement and stuff, and, oh, man, I can't wait to see that again, was there. Like, I definitely liked this. I don't know. I feel like these reviews, these negative reviews I'm hearing, it's like either people are just jumping on the train of, well, one person said it sucks, so I have to say it sucks too, or, I don't know, they're expecting a lot more, or, I don't know. It's really not that bad. It's a solid movie. I mean, I'd give it, like, I don't know, an 8.5 out of 10. It's pretty good. I liked it. So anyway, I think that's my whole review. Mandalorian and Grogu, don't listen to those other stupid reviews. This is a pretty solid movie. And yeah, that's all I got. Thanks for listening, and until next time, have a good one.